So 2023, the year that a lot of us bloggers who got our websites totally destroyed, we look back and we say, wish that wouldn't have happened that way. But it did, and here we are. So what I thought it'd be fun to do is to look at a 2024, not for hope, but just to wildly speculate and come up with conspiracy theories and predictions of what could happen over the course of the next year. Because look, I don't think anybody's in control anymore. It's the Wild West. It's Lord of the Flies out here, and we're all just trying to keep ourselves from getting a giant rock dumped on top of our head. So if you haven't already, hit like, hit subscribe, and let's get into it. All right, so my first is a conspiracy theory that actually leads into a prediction. So think about this. What if all of these updates that happened over the last 6 months actually weren't about making the SERPs better? They were actually about making the SERPs worse because SGE is about to roll out. And what better way to get people to adopt SGE than to make all of the other results not that great? I know it's crazy, but it kind of makes a little bit of sense, at least on paper. Maybe not on paper. Maybe it's still crazy there too. But as it's coming out of my mouth, I kind of get it because if you're a user and you're on there and you're like, I'm typing something in and the first answer is really good and you just become accustomed to all of the other answers not being good. Some of them are spam, some of them are crazy, some of them are crypto related and you're like, none of this makes any sense. You all of a sudden start getting very used to just going straight to that top answer because it comes more reliable. I realize it's a conspiracy theory, but why else make the SERPs this bad? Of course, unless it was accident, which is probably actually what happened. But hey, I'm just wildly speculating here. But this actually leads me into my first prediction, which is about SGE. So people are worried about SGE. Bloggers are worried about SGE, that it will give users no longer a need to visit individual websites. And I can see a world where that's possible. But that's not my prediction. My prediction is actually that it's not going to go over very well, at least at first, because people are just used to doing things a certain way. And just because something is new and shiny doesn't necessarily mean people want to use it. Think about Threads, the app that Zuckerberg put out to kind of compete with X or Twitter. Like everybody signed up for it and there was a lot of hype, but the majority of those people aren't using Threads. In fact, I forget Threads exists. And somebody's going to jump in the comments and go, I love Threads. I'm on it all the time. Good for you, but we're not talking about you. So just because something's new and actually maybe even functional doesn't mean people actually want to use it. People are used to doing what they're used to doing. They like doing what they're doing. That's why whenever you're doing a search in Google, that's why you skip the ads at the top. You don't even read them hardly anymore because you're just so used to going through a certain pattern and doing certain things. People are used to typing something in and visiting a website. So my first real prediction, my second thing on my list, my first real prediction is that SGE, when it rolls out, is not going to get the adoption that Google hopes it's going to and that bloggers fear that it's going to. My third prediction is that Reddit and Quora are going to get deprioritized in the SERPs. And the reason that I think this is twofold. One is Google has already started playing around with how they present those in the results. You know, at first they were just in the results, and then they put them in this kind of special section at the top, like people are talking about or something. So they've already tried kind of playing with some stuff, which seems really crazy considering that it was just a few months ago that all of these updates, which they said were so great, put them into the SERP results. Why are they trying to take them out all of a sudden? I think it's because Google knows that a lot of those answers and a lot of those Reddit posts and Quora posts, you can't trust people to give the right answer. Uncredentialed, just randos, you can't be putting those in the SERPs. Somebody's looking for some sort of a search result that's important. You can't put me, I don't know anything about, like, let's say, vegan food. But if I had an opinion, just a wild opinion, and I posted it somewhere, you can't put that in the main results because people's going to look at that. Somebody's going to look at that and go, it must be important. This guy must know what he's talking about because it's here. So I think we've already seen it a little bit. I think Google is going to continue to kind of push and change the way that they present the forums and the open talk. They're not going to get rid of it completely, but I feel like that was the beginning of what we're going to see as a pattern. That's my third thing. My fourth prediction is that we are actually going to get some clarity from Google on what it's trying to accomplish. I know what they've told us they're trying to accomplish, but so far, nothing that has really transpired lines up with what it is that they are saying. So what's happening isn't matching their words. I think we're going to see that eventually because Google wants people to be able to rely on their results. They need quality in the SERP results or people are going to start going somewhere else. It'll take some time, but it will happen. So Google does, in fact, need quality in the search results. Now, this kind of goes against my conspiracy theory that they want the results to be bad. I get that, but it's my video. I'll be as contradictory as I want to be. So I think that we will start to see something that comes out where Google says, like, here's kind of what we're trying to do now and the path forward, which has been a lot of the confusion and a lot of the problem that a lot of us have had. And like, what are we supposed to do now? Because there's not really been a clear path forward. A lot of theories and a lot of opinions, but nothing really has seemingly stuck or been consistent across the board to let us all go, okay, here's what we should be doing now. So that's my next one, is I do think that Google will get their act together, and it's probably going to be accompanied by an update or two, which nobody loves to see, but I think it's going to be necessary in order for them to right the ship. This isn't going to be a reversal of any sort, but it's just going to be more of a clarification and concretion of what it is they want to do, which will then allow us to kind of figure out, well, what do we then do next? My next wild conspiracy, and again, I could be wrong on all these. I'm probably going to be wrong on all these, but whatever, is that so many people right now are switching their mentality from standard SEO practices, find a keyword, you write about it, you optimize it, etc., to, like, hey, look, I'm trying to diversify my traffic and now get other sources of traffic, which is actually a great practice in general. But there's a lot of like, that's all I'm doing. I'm giving up on SEO and I'm going to Facebook and I'm going to Pinterest and whatever. I predict wildly and totally with speculation and zero background or proof or anything, I think that there's a very good chance that this year we actually see SEO return to what we saw just 6 months ago. Remember, that was only 6 months ago, actually 5 months ago, that the HCU rolled out. It's been a very small window of time, and since then, it's been update after update after update. Nothing has really been concreted, and there's no real foundation based off of where we just came from, so a very small sample size. But so many people have been discouraged by losing a lot of their income from their sites. They're like, look, I have to jump ship and jump ship now, which is fine. I totally understand that. But what I see happening is that if Google does start to provide some sort of clarification on what to do next and what the path is forward, I don't think that they want people going necessarily to other sites first to drive traffic to their websites, because that almost circumvents Google altogether. If you start running ads on Facebook to your website, well, Google gets really no piece of that whatsoever, and I don't think Google wants that in the long run. So I think that, or at least here's my next prediction, unwarranted prediction. I think we're going to see a return to standard SEO practices in some form or fashion. The other stuff's still going to be important. I am doing it, but I think that the people that are getting out of SEO completely are going to regret that later in some way. Maybe not, because maybe they'll go and kill it off of Pinterest or Reddit or something, but that's my next half-butted prediction. My next prediction is that some people are going to start figuring out how to essentially game the backlinks game. And some people already kind of do this, but I think what's going to happen is, because now that there's so much emphasis put on authority, DRs, in that whole thing, I think what's going to happen is people are going to start going like, okay, here's how you can cheat the system. Maybe not cheat the system is the right word, but here's how you can game the system. But that's kind of what we were doing with SEO, right? Is you'd have a keyword and you just figure out, well, even if you didn't necessarily know what you were talking about, you could put certain words in a certain number of time. You were gaming that particular system. So if the game continues to be high DRs and backlinks, we're going to see a bunch more of that, of people figuring out how to essentially manipulate that system in order to get high ranking results. People are going to start hiring Fiverr gigs, which may not necessarily be the best idea, but if you lost all your traffic, maybe you don't care. So I think we're going to see that next. I think we're going to see manipulation of backlinks and DR. We're probably also within that see some really incredible systems come out that are legitimate systems as far as how you get backlinks, whether it's through various types of cooperation or programs or software or whatever, but I'm more worried about the manipulation part. That's really all I got for you. I just spent the last week of the holiday just kind of thinking about where we just came out of and where things are going, and it's hard not to think about where things are going without thinking about, well, if they continue to be crazy, what happens if they still continue to be crazy? What does that actually look like? We know SGE is coming. We know that they're playing around with the placements of Reddit and Quora and Forum in the results already. We know that they're already doing these things. So it's interesting to just kind of think about like, well, what could they be doing next? I do think that ultimately Google wants things to be right in the SERPs. I think that they need people to trust the SERP results. They need people to keep coming there. One is they don't want them to go somewhere else. And two, they don't want to put themselves into a situation where they can't be trusted to provide quality answers. That was the whole point of EEAT, right? It was to help provide the best quality up front. There's been a lot of speculation that at this point, Google can't tell quality from not quality, and I think there's some validity to that. If you see that much spam in the SERP results, the top SERP results, then you go like, well, they don't they surely don't want that, which means that if it's there and they don't want it, then they can't tell the difference right now between. And I think they're going to get a lot of that stuff sorted out here over the first 2 quarters of the next year. But it's going to be an interesting year. I think AI is going to be a big part of this too, because this was like the first sort of big boom year. I don't think Google was ready for this. So hopefully they've got their bearings about them. And a lot of those updates that we went through was actually more about building the foundation of how are they going to handle this going forward. It kind of messes stuff up that happened in the past, all of our articles and our sites that we built, but maybe that also helps get corrected as we move forward. But to be honest, maybe none of it happens and we're all just boned. It is what it is. But I'm going to keep working hard. And I've told you guys from the beginning, I'm not no SEO smarty pants. I'm not no whiz kid. I'm just some guy from the Midwest who's a really hard worker, been blogging for the last couple of years, and just want to talk about what he's doing, what he's done in the past, and hopefully in a few months we'll be talking about how we dug ourselves out of these holes. Thanks y'all so much for watching. I appreciate the comments. I appreciate you telling me like, hey, you're just a real dude just spewing nonsense. And sometimes we just like a little bit of nonsense to keep it light. I'm trying to just give you a little bit of nonsense, but also trying to tell you kind of what I'm thinking about. And maybe it's still nonsense. Who knows? We'll see in a couple months. Happy 2024, everybody. Peace out.